But now we have who's patiently waiting, Caroline Carr, in the studio. So first of all, a very warm welcome to the Breakfast Show, Caroline. How are you this morning?
I'm very well, thank you.
Yeah, ਬਿਲਕੁਲ ਠੀਕ ਹੈ ਜੀ। ਪਹਿਲੀ ਗੱਲ ਤਾਂ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਨਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਬੜੀ ਗੱਲ ਸੀ, ਮੈਂ Caroline Carr, ਮੈਂ ਟੋਟਾ ਕਾਰ ਤੇ ਸੁਣੀ ਸੀ। Can you tell us about your background, please?
About my background, well, many years ago I studied theatre and television, actually, and did all that kind of work till I had children. And then did a range of different things. I taught drama in prisons, and I worked with the probation service. And then we moved from Somerset to Dorset, and my husband became depressed. And that was a massive shock. It was a real shock. And so I had to kind of manage that, deal with that, with the kind of depressed behaviour, because I knew nothing about depression at the time. And yeah, it was tough. It was a tough time. It was a tough time for my daughters as well, for all, and of course really tough for him going through it, because it's a terrible thing to go through. But since then I became a hypnotherapist and a life coach, and I founded Let the Sunshine In, a website which is there to help people to support them, you know, whilst their partners are depressed, really, and also to have fun and laugh. There's lots of things on there. So I guess I've done a few things in my life.
Wow, you've done a lot of things in your life. I mean, if we go back to the actual prisons, in drama in prisons, I mean, how do you think that helped prisoners?
It's just such a lovely thing to do, because prisons are, well, they're peculiar places, really, because they're like the microcosm of the life outside. And people's horizons change in prisons. You know, a fight can begin over a cigarette paper, or what channel they're going to watch on telly, or something like that, because there's just not enough going on that's stimulating in a good way. Or there certainly wasn't when I worked in prisons. And so education is a brilliant thing. They say, in fact, one inmate said, you know, education can set you free. And that's always stuck with me, because I think that's very true. And so we used to do drama and life skills, and there were loads of other things as well. But the drama was great, because it was a way for people to express themselves as much as anything else, and to tap into all the hidden talents, because there's so much talent within prison. But of course, because a lot of people have very low self-esteem, they don't realise that they are so talented.
Definitely. And I mean, the thing is, you've come from a background full of drama and television and things like that. I mean, do you think that actually helped you to become a hypnotherapist?
Probably. I'm naturally bossy as well, which probably helped.
Really? You don't come across like that.
That's not what my family would say.
I bet.
But maybe that was just something that always interested me, you know, how the mind works, and how we can do so much for ourselves. You know.
And so then you helped your husband out of his depression?
Well, not really, actually. I mean, it's not a good idea to do hypnotherapy usually with your family, but my husband, no. I mean, he, bless him, he knew that there was something wrong, and he did go to the doctor. And because many people won't go to the doctor, you know, they're worried that they're going to be given lots of medication to take, they'll become addicted, or the side effects of medication. And also, people are very concerned that it's going to go down on their work record, the fact that they have a mental health issue of some kind. And people are frightened, because the whole thing with depression is this kind of shrinking inwards to this kind of helpless, hopeless core in the middle, really. And so you feel as if everything's going out of control. You're out of control. You don't know why you feel so awful. And so a lot of people don't go to the doctor, but he did. And he was actually given some medication as well, which he took a little bit of and then stopped. And actually, you should always only do that under a doctor, because, you know, the effects of coming off medication aren't necessarily good. But it went on for months and months, and then it just seemed to lift. I don't know how, but that can happen. So,
I mean, why do people fall into depression in the first place? There must be many causes.
Well, yes, and I think, I think it's quite a natural state because it encourages a state of withdrawal. Sometimes things just get too much and you just need to stop and to rest, really. Yeah. And so I think that's okay, but then, of course, it's when it goes on too long. And they say now that depression can be a mixture of all sorts of things. It might be genetic, so it might be like a chemical imbalance. It might be that you have a predisposition to it, perhaps it's hereditary. It might just be the type of person you are, the way that you cope with things in life generally. And it probably has a great deal to do with what's gone on in your life and what's going on now. So I think it can be a mixture of a whole range of things. And I believe we have to look at depression very holistically because I think there are many, many ways to help with and treat depression.
Definitely. I mean, how can we actually recognise the signs of depression? Because sometimes you look at a family member and they seem okay, but actually they're not, and they keep it very well hidden.
Yes.
Or you yourself, you might be depressed, but you just don't realise it.
That's right. And also, I think depression, it very often goes hand in hand with anxiety as well. They're different, but they often occur together. So whereas depression is this kind of shrinking inwards, anxiety tends to be this fear of the future, what if this happens, what if that happens?
Yes.
And you're sifting and searching for the potential, what you think is a potential threat to yourself, and then worrying about the consequences afterwards. So all of that stuff can be going on. So the kind of things that, it just affects your whole system.
Okay.
And so, for example, if somebody's depressed, it might be that they become a bit quieter. They might withdraw, they might sort of just stay in their rooms a lot, or they might work all the time, really throwing themselves into an activity of some sort, like work, to prevent themselves having to deal with the uncomfortable emotions that they're experiencing. Sadness, tears. I mean, it can be things like not eating properly as well, diet and everything. There are so many different signs and symptoms. And I think, as a partner, if you get alarm bells going off in your head and you think, oh, that's a bit strange. Why is he or she behaving like that?
Sure.
You should take notice. Do take notice of those, because it's very easy to excuse things. If you've been with somebody for a long time, you think, oh, it's just the way they are. It's just that it's kind of they're changing, little things like that. Or if you're in a new relationship, well, I mean, love is blind, and you think, this is just the person they are. They're pounding the wall because it's this queer little thing that they do, but of course, it could be quite a serious thing. So it can be that depression manifests as sadness and great negativity, and it can be negativity about everything, blaming everybody else for everything.
Yeah.
It can be all sorts of things.
मैं अपने ਜਿਹੜੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਵਿਊਰ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਵਾਲੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਵੀ ਦੱਸਤਾ ਜਾਵਾਂ ਤੇ ਅੱਜ ਗੱਲ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਡਿਪਰੈਸ਼ਨ ਦੀ ਤੇ ਡਿਪਰੈਸ਼ਨ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਿਵੇਂ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਹਸਬੰਡ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਡਿਪਰੈਸ਼ਨ ਵਿੱਚ ਲੈ ਗਏ ਸੀ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਬੰਦਾ ਬਹੁਤ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਉਦਾਸ ਰਹਿਣ ਲੱਗ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਹੈ ਕਮਰੇ 'ਚ ਇਕੱਲਿਆਂ ਰਹਿਣ ਲੱਗ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਹਰ ਕਿਸੇ ਨੂੰ ਬਲੇਮ ਦਿੰਦਾ ਹੈ ਨੈਗੇਟਿਵ ਹੀ ਸੋਚੀ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਹੈ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਇਹ ਡਿਪਰੈਸ਼ਨ ਦੀਆਂ ਨਿਸ਼ਾਨੀਆਂ ਹੈ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਛੇਤੀ ਤੋਂ ਛੇਤੀ ਕੋਈ ਨਾ ਕੋਈ ਉਪਰਾਲਾ ਕਰਨਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਤੇ ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਵੱਡਾ ਉਪਰਾਲਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਨਾਮ ਜਪਣਾ ਸਿਮਰਨ ਕਰਨਾ ਮੈਡੀਟੇਸ਼ਨ ਹੀ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਇਹਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਹੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਸੀ ਯੈਸ
ਬਿਲਕੁਲ ਜੀ so if we move on now to the actual treatment of depression how can we treat depression?
Well, there's a whole range of ways. Could I just say one other thing, though, about how it can manifest?
Sure.
Because it can be sadness, but also there can be great anger there. So suddenly there can be anger, and it's often directed towards the partner.
Right.
So it might be real verbal sort of lashings that the person takes. But that's important because the anger, very often you don't associate that sort of behaviour with depression. You just think it's sadness.
Yes.
So, and so a person will experience a kind of a sense of loss, because it could be loss of a job or a loss of a relationship. It could be a loss of faculties, just not being able to do the kinds of things that you've enjoyed doing in the past. So you lessen those. So in terms of treatment, I mean, medication is the way that depression tends to be treated generally.
Yes.
And I'm not medically trained, so I can't talk about that.
Sure.
It's helped many, many people through a really bad patch. But there are so many other ways because, for example, I know, I mean, as a hypnotherapist, I've actually worked with people with depression and it's been very helpful for them. Acupuncture is something that people often say helps them.
Acupuncture, that's
Just
quite
like a pinch.
interesting.
Yes.
Yes.
Or
Point. Your
pins on
nervous
certain parts of your
Yes,
body.
yes.
And I believe it's something to do with the liver energy, particularly
Okay.
with depression, which can be boosted, you know.
Yes.
Because basically it means something's out of balance. Because any stress is going to start to deplete the body of all sorts of things, you know, nutrients, minerals, but the hormones are not balanced properly and everything. So anything that can help with that. And then homeopathy is one of my favourite you know, ways of treatment, and
Okay.
that can do the most marvellous things. And there's also something now called the Alpha Stim, which you may not have heard of, and in fact I should have brought one with me to show you, but it's a little thing that looks like a Walkman.
Okay.
And what you do is you clip it onto your ears,
Right.
and you set the amount of this minute sort of microcurrent of electricity that boosts the brain's natural electricity. And what it does is it boosts the feel-good factor and it lessens the kind of the depressed feeling.
Oh, that's
and over
fantastic.
It is. It's wonderful. And over a period of time, that can really have a great effect.
So
for
what's
people.
that called again, sorry?
Alpha Stim.
Alpha Stim. Now, I've heard of alpha waves when you put on stereo headphones and you get
Yes,
those waves.
That's
but
right.
Alpha,
Well, it
alpha
stimulates alpha waves. I mean,
Sure.
But it's, yeah, the Alpha Stim. And so it's available, it'll soon be available through my website, but the Microcurrent site is the name of the website in the UK where you can get this. And, you know, it's advised that you use it with a therapist first because you can get a kind of a bit of a dip as you first put it on. You can sort of feel a little bit phased sometimes. But over a period of time, it really starts to do its work. And I've had great results with that.
Fantastic.
Because sometimes people who are depressed or highly anxious are too much so to engage with talking therapies. And of course, counselling, psychotherapy, all of these things and hypnotherapy are really important as a way of, you know, if it's something to do with what's gone on in your life before, then these are really good ways of helping you to get to what that is and deal with the situation.
So basically talking it out and getting that out of your system.
Yes, and finding new ways to manage.
Yeah.
And so one of the treatments of choice now, I believe, is cognitive behavioural therapy, which kind of deals with your thoughts and you know, the way that you're thinking about things so that you can manage things slightly differently. But if somebody is too depressed or too anxious to really engage with that, then they will need something else, which is where the Alpha Stim's great. And I guess that's one of the reasons why medication is...
And I show you book Living with the Depression, maybe, right here.
Yes, this is... I wrote that book when my partner was depressed, because I realised that there must be millions of people going through the same
definitely.
situation as I was, as
Of
the
course.
partner. And I couldn't find then, it was 12 years ago, whatever it was, the support I needed. So I wrote a book basically about my experiences and to help other people, and I believe people have found it quite useful. So.
Oh, yes.
Definitely. I mean, it's one thing if you yourself are depressed, but if you're living with someone who is also, you know, is depressed and you're fine, then it can have an effect on yourself as well.
Absolutely. Well, it just, you feel as if your life has crashed.
Yeah.
Because you never know what to expect from the depressed behaviour. And one of the important things is to realise that it's not the person themselves, they're not the issue, it's the behaviour because of the depression that's causing these things. And sometimes you never know if you're going to find somebody in floods of tears or if they're going to be really angry and blaming you for things and saying, you know, you did this, that and the other. And people have told me who write to me on the website now that, you know, when you're depressed, you actually haven't really got any control in the moment as to what you're saying. So the most horrible things can be said to partners. And then, of course, partners think, well, is it my fault? What have I done or what have I not done? Well, actually, you haven't. It's nothing to do with you at all, actually.
And show you another book, How not to Worry.
How not to worry,
How
yes.
not to worry.
How to stop anxiety spoiling your life, yes. Well, actually, when I was in my 20s, I had an anxiety disorder.
Yes.
And it really put my life on hold for a few years, I have to say. It was very frightening. And so I decided to write a book to help other people as well, or just my, well, not really so much my experiences, as other people. I interviewed a lot of people for that book, and they, you know, they all say how tough it can be. You see, everybody goes through these things.
Yeah, of course.
To some level. And in fact, depression and anxiety affect everybody in some way. So if it's not you directly experiencing it, it'll be somebody that you know or love or work with. So we all need to know about it, I feel, you know.
Absolutely. And I mean, you actually do some laughter therapy as well. I mean, you were laughing very hard downstairs and up in the studio.
Oh, I love that. I so love that. Well, yes, I do laughter workshops and laughter. I use laughter as a therapy, and it's largely based on laughter yoga.
Okay.
Which was started in Mumbai by an Indian doctor, a GP, Dr. Madan Kataria.
Yes.
And it's just wonderful. It's such fun because, I mean, it's called laughter yoga, but you don't do any yoga poses or anything.
Okay.
The laughter's initiated through laughter exercises, which are so, you know, we just giggle all the time. And then the yoga bit really is to do with the deep breathing, because the idea is that if you laugh, and deep belly laughing from down here.
One the demo, a laugh demo.
Show a demo. Well, I mean, one of the first things we do is we go ho ho ha ha ha, you know, but that's down here, and it's getting rid of the air.
Oh,
so
that sounds like fun.
It is, so you can take in a really good deep breath, you know.
Yes.
And then we have some free-flowing laughter and then some relaxation. It's great, but you have to be prepared to be playful and wacky,
of course.
because you know the thing is with laughter, if you're really feeling very down in the dumps or ill, and you've got people shrieking with laughter around you, it's awful, you know. And people have said to me, it just freaks me out listening to all that laughter, and I can understand that. But if you're up for it, it's great. And if you're feeling, oh, you know, I'm feeling awful, but I don't care, might as well just go for this, then it's great, because then you're in a position where you're, let's just do it anyway.
But I think the thing
is,
is,
lifts you.
When somebody else laughs, it makes me laugh automatically because I just can't help it. Some people have this funny laugh and you just can't help but laugh at them laughing.
Exactly.
And the thing is, could you do that ho ho ha 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 thing again? Because I think that's brilliant. I think that's brilliant.
The way that we normally start is by clapping like that. And you have to do it with your hands together because this gets the acupressure points. And then you say ho ho ha ha ha, ho ho ha ha ha, and we walk around doing, so let's do it together. Ho ho ha ha ha, ho ho ha ha ha. You know, and we're all looking at each other as if we're all completely mad. So as we go around, we'll burst into laughing properly, you know. And then we do lots of other little exercises as well to make us giggle and laugh, and it's just fine, interspersed with the breathing.
That's fantastic. How did you hear about laughter therapy?
Well, I'd always known about laughter therapy, and I'd always thought, what is that? How can that work? And then actually last summer, what happened was my website used to be called mypartnerisdepressed.com. And so we kept the domain name even so, but I woke up one cold grey day last summer and I thought, you know what, everybody needs a bit of sunshine in their lives. I'm going to rebrand everything. So I changed everything to let the sunshine in. And at the same time I thought, laughing, we all need to laugh, you know, and I want to laugh more and just have some fun.
Definitely.
So I searched on the internet laughter, and up it came, laughter yoga. And I thought, well, how on earth can laughter yoga, you know, how does that work?
Yeah.
So when I discovered a little bit more about it, I realised, of course, it isn't postures at all. And, and I just thought, well, I'll go and learn how to do it. So I did.
Very nice.
So here we are, giggling.